The fairy tale that was a warning system, when stories kept villages alive, reached a specific moment that almost never makes it into the official account. In the heart of a mist-laden forest, where the trees whispered secrets of old, a village named Eldergrove thrived around a shimmering creek. It was 1642, and the air smelled of damp earth, rich with the promise of harvest. Each morning the sun filtered through the leaves, casting dancing patterns on the cobbled paths, while the villagers bustled about their daily chores. Among them was young Ilara, her wild curls bouncing with every determined step as she carried a basket filled with freshly baked bread. Ilara loved these mornings, yet there was an undercurrent of tension that rippled through the village like a hidden stream. The elders often gathered in hushed tones beneath the ancient oak tree, their faces lined with worry. Whispers of a lurking danger had begun to weave through their conversations, tales of feral beasts that roamed the forest at night, preying on livestock and even the unwary. One fateful evening, just as the sky turned a bruised purple and the first stars prickled the horizon, Ilara's grandmother, Malis, gathered the children by the fire. Shadows flickered on their faces, and the smell of smoke mingled with the sweet scent of roasted chestnuts. Malis, with her gnarled fingers, drew patterns in the dirt, and a hush fell over the children as she prepared to share one of the village's oldest stories. "Listen closely, my dears. This is not just a tale, it is a memory, a warning," she began, her voice steady but laced with an edge of urgency. Long ago, a village much like ours was terrorized by a wolf that wore the guise of a man. It slipped through the shadows, striking fear into the hearts of even the bravest. They called it the Cursed Hunter. As she spoke, flames danced higher, illuminating the anxious faces of the children. They leaned in closer, their imaginations ignited. Malis described how the villagers had come together, weaving their knowledge and fears into a collective story that turned into a fierce rallying cry. The tale warned of the wolf's tricks, teaching them to stand together in the face of danger. "Remember the story, for it is not just a whimsy of the past. It teaches us vigilance and unity," Malis concluded, her eyes searching each child's face, instilling in them the weight of their heritage. Days turned into weeks, and as the leaves fell like whispers to the ground, the village's anxiety grew as well. Reports of livestock disappearing became all too real, and a palpable fear began to shadow the streets. Ilara could feel it in her bones, a conflict brewing just beneath the surface of their peaceful lives. Friends began to avoid twilight gatherings, glancing fearfully over their shoulders, as if the very trees might hold a lurking menace. Then, on an eerily moonlit night, a blood-curdling howl shattered the stillness. Ilara jolted awake, her heart pounding like a war drum. Panic gripped her as she rushed to her window, peering into the darkness. Outside she could see the glow of torches flickering as villagers gathered, their voices panic-stricken yet resolute. As Ilara slipped into her shoes, she felt an electric charge of courage surge through her. She had heard stories of bravery, but those tales only truly came alive in moments like this. Dashing through the village, she joined the throng of people outside, huddled around the fire where Malis stood, her face drawn but determined. "We cannot let fear divide us," Malis said, her voice cutting through the din. "What did it teach us? We have strength in our unity. We cannot let this creature, whatever it is, fracture our bonds." With renewed fervor, the villagers began to share their own stories, recounting encounters with the beast, each tale weaving together threads of knowledge and strategy. A plan began to form, a tapestry of ideas to fortify their village against the darkness lurking in the woods. As shadows deepened, Ilara felt a swell of pride for her community. They weren't just passive victims, they were storytellers, warriors armed with knowledge. The stories they shared were not just folklore, they were alive, breathing warnings that echoed through time. The next day, as the sun rose, the villagers banded together, reinforcing their fences, hanging charms of protection made from herbs and kind words. They created a watch rotation, with Alara volunteering despite her youth. Each evening she'd sit with the elders, listening intently as they recounted the stories that kept their spirits high, making her feel a part of something greater than herself. As the days grew shorter and the nights more threatening, a palpable shift occurred. The fear that once dulled their spirits began to glitter with resilience. The village became a fortress of hope, each story resurrecting forgotten legends and emboldening them to stand firm. Then, one fateful evening, as the first snow blanketed the ground, Ilara stood watch with a group of villagers. Tension hung in the air, tangible and electric. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke through the silence, and from the edge of the trees, a shadow emerged, a massive figure, eyes glinting in the moonlight. The beast was more terrifying than they could have imagined, its breath misting in the cold air. But instead of fleeing, Ilara felt a surge of determination. "Remember the stories," she shouted, her voice ringing out like a bell. "We stand together." The villagers rallied, forming a protective circle around Ilara, their hearts quickening in rhythm. They raised their torches high and began to chant the words of their elders, invoking the power of the stories that had shaped their lives. The creature hesitated, its fierce demeanor faltering as the sound of unity washed over it. With a final howl, the beast turned and fled back into the depths of the forest, its shadow swallowed by the darkness. A cheer erupted among the villagers, laughter and relief mingling in the crisp night air. Ilara stood amidst the celebration, the weight of their victory heavy but exhilarating. They had turned a story designed to terrify into one of triumph. The tales told by Malus had not only warned them, but had forged bonds, allowing them to confront their fears together. In the days that followed, Elder Grove felt different. The villagers walked with their heads held high, their laughter echoing louder than ever before. They came to realize that the stories they shared were a lifeline, a warning system that didn't only keep them safe, but also nurtured their spirits. Ilara, now more than just a child in her grandmother's tales, became a young storyteller in her own right, weaving new narratives that blended bravery with tradition. The villagers understood now that every story has the power to transform fear into strength, to bring together a community where once there was only doubt. As generations passed, the legend of the cursed hunter was intertwined with their own, becoming part of the fabric of Elder Grove. The village thrived, forever grateful for the stories that not only warned, but also united them against the darkness. The forest still whispered secrets, but now they were secrets of resilience, wrapped in the warmth of shared tales that kept the heart of the village alive. Which part changed how you read this?